Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now. Right now, at this very moment, there are two legitimate Major League starting pitchers sitting completely unsigned on the open market, available to any team in baseball willing to make the call, and the New York Yankees. The team with the deepest pockets, the most aggressive general manager in the game, and an absolute obsession with adding pitching at every possible opportunity, have had their eyes on at least one of these guys for months. Let that sink in for a second. We are this far into the offseason. We have watched the hot stove burn through most of its biggest names. We have seen deals get done, contracts get signed, rotations get filled, and yet here we are, with two arms sitting there unclaimed, almost daring a team to come scoop them up before spring camps settle into their final form and the opportunity closes forever. This is the kind of situation that Brian Cashman was genetically engineered to exploit. The man has been the Yankees general manager for so long that he has become practically a civic institution in the Bronx. And if there is one thing you can count on from Cashman as consistently as you can count on taxes and the sunrise, it is this: he will never, ever stop trying to add pitching. Never. It is not an ambition, it is a compulsion. It is the fundamental operating principle of everything he does. Power bats and pitchers. That is the Cashman gospel. That is how this franchise has been built and rebuilt again over decades of dominance and near misses and championship runs. And right now, with the Yankees fresh off their latest moves and still clearly not finished constructing the most complete version of this roster they can put together, there is a new report circulating that shines a light on exactly where the Yankees' attention is focused among the remaining free agent arms available on the market. The names are Giolito and Littell. And the opportunity is real. The window is closing. And if you understand anything about how this franchise operates when it smells a chance to get better, you already know what happens next. Let us set the stage properly, because the context of where the Yankees are right now matters enormously to understanding why these two particular free agent pitchers are generating so much internal attention in the Bronx. The Yankees came into this offseason with a roster that was genuinely excellent in many areas, an offense that ranked among the best in the American League last season, a core of position player talent that any franchise in baseball would envy, and a brand identity built entirely around winning now and winning often. But pitching has always been the engine of this franchise's most successful periods, and pitching is where the questions persist heading into 2026. The Randal Grichuk addition represented a move towards solidifying the offensive side of things. Other moves have been made, but the rotation and the thing that Cashman cares most deeply about, the thing that keeps him up at night in the best possible way, still has questions attached to it that the right signing could answer definitively. Carlos Rodon is coming back from elbow surgery. Let us be clear about what that means in practice. Rodon is a supremely talented pitcher when healthy, and nobody in the Yankees organization doubts his ability or his commitment to returning to full form. But elbow surgery is elbow surgery, and the responsible approach to managing his workload means you cannot and should not plan on him being a 200-inning workhorse in 2026. He needs to be managed carefully, and that management requires depth behind him. Gerrit Cole is similarly coming back from injury, and the Yankees are going to be appropriately cautious with their ace as he works his way back to full competitive readiness. Max Fried is a quality arm and a meaningful addition, but he is not the kind of pitcher you build your workhorse inning-eating strategy around on a weekly basis. Will Warren looks like he is developing into something real and exciting, but he is still young, he has been inconsistent at stretches, and the Yankees are in the business of winning right now, this season, this year, not in 3 years when Warren's development arc arrives at its ceiling. So what the Yankees need, practically speaking, is a reliable arm who can take the ball every 5 days, eat innings with some consistency, and not be a liability in the rotation while the more established members of the staff ramp up and stay healthy. That is a very specific kind of player, and the market for that specific kind of player just happens to contain two names that the Yankees have been watching closely, and that baseball's best analytical minds are saying remain dramatically undervalued relative to what they actually bring to the table. Let us start with Lucas Giolito, because his is the more complicated and more emotionally loaded story of the two. Giolito is a name that generates strong reactions across the baseball landscape, and those reactions are frequently complicated by the full arc of his career rather than the version of him that showed up for the Boston Red Sox last season. Here is what we know for certain about the most recent chapter of the Giolito story. He went to Boston, he took the ball 26 times as a starter, and he delivered a 3.41 ERA with a 1.29 whip and 121 strikeouts over the course of the season. These are legitimately good numbers. Not Cy Young numbers, not the kind of numbers that generate bidding wars in November, but genuinely solid, competent, above-average production from a starting pitcher who was doing his job at a level that any rotation in baseball would appreciate. Giolito's career has been a study in extremes. He has had seasons where he looked like a potential ace, dominant stretches where his fastball changeup combination was working at an elite level, and hitters were genuinely uncomfortable in the box against him. He has also had seasons where things fell apart spectacularly, where the command deserted him and the ERA climbed into territories that made you wince. The inconsistency across his career arc is real, and it is fair to mention, but the version of Giolito that appeared in a Red Sox uniform last year was the good version, the reliable, professional get-outs-and-eight-innings version that the team was counting on to be their third starter going into the postseason. That plan was derailed when an elbow issue ended his season on September 23rd, keeping him out of the wild card series that the Yankees eventually won. His season was done. The Red Sox missed him, and now he is sitting in free agency, technically having demonstrated full health coming into November, but unable to close a deal despite months of negotiations and plenty of reported interest from multiple teams. The elbow question is the cloud hanging over this entire situation. When a pitcher with Giolito's history ends a season early due to an elbow concern, the baseball market processes that information with enormous caution, because elbow problems in pitchers are not always what they appear to be on the surface. Sometimes an early shutdown for what is described as elbow soreness or inflammation is exactly that. A conservative decision to protect a pitcher at the end of a season when there is nothing left to compete for. Other times, it is the early signal of something more structural that reveals itself more fully over time. The market does not know which version applies to Giolito right now, and that uncertainty is driving the gap between what he is apparently asking for in terms of contract value and what teams are willing to offer, given the health question mark. The analytical projection that has been most widely discussed puts his contract value somewhere in the range of 2 years and $32 million. Which is a reasonable assessment of what a healthy Giolito brings to the table relative to the current market. Some projections had gone as high as 3 years and $51 million before the elbow uncertainty became more significant in the evaluation. The reference points here are instructive. Jordan Montgomery went through the free agent market looking for north of $100 million after a strong season and wound up signing a one-year deal with a vesting option when the market simply would not meet his expectations. Jake Odorizzi accepted a qualifying offer, then dealt with injuries in a shortened season, and settled for a deal worth significantly less than the $39 million over 3 years that analytical models had projected for him. The pattern with talented pitchers who hit the market with health questions or contract expectation mismatches is that time eventually forces a reckoning, a moment where reality catches up with aspiration and a deal gets done at a number that the pitcher did not envision when he first started working the phones in October. Giolito is approaching that moment. He is a native of the Los Angeles area, born and raised in Santa Monica, who has spent his career bouncing between franchises and is now staring at a free agent market that has moved on from its biggest commitments and left him as one of the last significant arms sitting unclaimed. The Yankees have interest. They reportedly liked him as an option back in November, and there is no reason to believe that interest has completely evaporated simply because time has passed. If anything, the passage of time works in the Yankees' favor by giving them increasing leverage as Giolito's alternatives become more limited. What would Giolito bring to the Bronx specifically? An experienced arm who knows how to start a major league game, who has a legitimate fastball and a changeup that can genuinely miss bats when it is working properly, and who could serve as exactly the kind of bridge piece the Yankees need while Rodon and Cole complete their returns to health. Giolito at his best is a legitimate rotation anchor. Giolito at his current age and with his current health question is a calculated risk, but for the right price on a short-term deal, the calculated risk is one the Yankees would be entirely justified in taking. Now let us talk about Zach Littell, and let me be direct about something up front. Zach Littell is one of the most dramatically underrated pitchers available in this free agent class, and if the Yankees do not sign him, someone else is going to look very smart about 6 months from now when he has quietly put together another 3.81 ERA season, and people are wondering why more teams were not fighting harder to get him. This is genuinely one of those situations where a player's statistical surface gets underestimated by conventional metrics, while the underlying performance tells a much more impressive story. Here is what Littell did last season. He threw 186 and two-thirds innings, posted a 3.81 ERA, and maintained a 1.104 WHIP. Let us dwell on that WHIP number for a moment because it is extraordinary in a way that does not always get the attention it deserves. 1.104. At his size, 6'4", 250 pounds, with his profile and his contract situation, a pitcher posting that whip over nearly 200 innings is doing something genuinely impressive. He is keeping runners off the bases. He is not walking people. He is not giving up soft contact that squirts through the infield for hits. He is methodically, efficiently, and consistently putting up quality innings in a way that advanced metrics support as real and sustainable. The criticism that follows Littell everywhere he goes, and it is a fair criticism that deserves honest engagement, is the strikeout rate. He is not a swing-and-miss arm. In 186 and two-thirds innings last season, he struck out 130 batters. The math on that is not flattering by modern standards, which have been shaped by the ascendancy of high strikeout pitching in the analytics era. Teams have spent the last decade chasing arms that generate swings and misses at elite rates, and a pitcher who does not do that tends to get evaluated skeptically, regardless of his ERA and WHIP. But here is the counter-argument that Littell's supporters, and there are plenty of them among people who watch him carefully, make consistently. He is a ground ball pitcher. He gets weak contact. He gets outs through soft ground balls and timely double plays, and the kind of balls in play outcomes that reflect genuine quality of contact management rather than the absence of stuff. His pitching run value was above average last year. His extension is good. His command is excellent. He is doing what he does deliberately and effectively, not stumbling into results. And then there is the practical reality of what he offers a team that needs exactly what he does. The Yankees do not need Zach Littell to be their ace. They are not asking him to lead a rotation or carry a staff through a playoff series on his own shoulders. What they need, what the rotation gap specifically requires right now, is a pitcher who will take the ball every fifth day, compete professionally, eat innings, and keep the game within reach long enough for the offense and the bullpen to do their respective jobs. That is Zach Littell. That is exactly and precisely what he provides. And he does it at a level of consistency that is genuinely impressive when you look past the strikeout numbers to the full body of what he actually accomplished last season. He is 30 years old. He turned 30 during this very free agency period. That age, and the fact that his most recent season represents the best sustained work of his career, creates an interesting incentive dynamic. If Littell signs a one-year deal, pitches well again in 2026, and enters free agency at 31 with another strong ERA season on his resume, he positions himself for a multi-year contract that properly reflects what he is, a reliable, durable starting pitcher in the prime of his career. The risk-reward calculation for a team signing him is extremely favorable. Relatively low cost, one-year commitment, genuine production, and the ability to flip him at the deadline if the need for his spot in the rotation goes away due to returning healthy starters. This is a no-brainer acquisition for a team that is thinking clearly about its rotation depth and the real-world uncertainty that comes with managing pitchers through a 162-game season. Here is the broader picture that ties all of these threads together, and it is worth stating clearly because it gives the Giolito and Littell conversations their proper significance within the full context of where the Yankees are. This is a franchise that fully understands what it is up against in 2026. They are not operating under any illusions about the difficulty of what they are trying to accomplish. The American League is a gauntlet. Multiple genuinely excellent teams, multiple legitimate championship contenders, a level of competition in the playoff bracket that will test every element of a roster. And if the Yankees get through all of that, if they navigate the American League successfully and reach the World Series, the opponent waiting for them on the other side is almost certainly going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers, an organization that has constructed what may be the most formidable roster in modern baseball history, an absolute juggernaut featuring Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Mookie Betts, and a supporting cast that would be the envy of literally any other franchise. Beating the Dodgers in a 7-game series requires every possible advantage. It requires length in the rotation, depth in the bullpen, consistency in the lineup, and absolutely zero soft spots that a Dodger offense can identify and exploit. That is why every piece matters. That is why Brian Cashman does not stop adding pitching even when the casual observer might think the roster is already good enough. Because good enough is not the standard in the Bronx. The standard is better than everyone else when it matters most. And if adding Lucas Giolito on a short-term deal while Rodon and Cole get healthy makes the rotation one step more complete, it is worth doing. If signing Zach Littell to eat innings and provide reliable starts while the young arms develop fills a gap that would otherwise be left open, it is worth doing. These are not moves that generate headline-dominating press conferences. They are the moves that quietly and decisively separate championship teams from teams that fall short at the final hurdle. The Yankees understand this. Cashman understands this. The front office has demonstrated repeatedly over the course of building this roster that it is willing to make all of the obvious flashy moves and all of the quiet tactical moves that fill the gaps the flashy moves leave behind. The Giolito and Littell conversations are the quiet tactical moves. They are the filling the gaps moves. And in a season where the margins between winning and losing a championship could come down to something as simple as having a reliable arm available to start Game 4 of the American League Championship Series, the quiet moves matter every bit as much as the loud ones. The interesting question that remains unanswered right now and that the coming weeks are going to resolve is which direction the Yankees go. Do they prioritize Giolito's experience and surface-level track record while accepting the health uncertainty that comes with it? Do they prioritize Littell's durability and consistency and accept that his strikeout numbers will always generate skepticism from the analytics community? Do they potentially make both moves, effectively giving themselves double the rotation insurance at a combined cost that is probably still quite reasonable given the talent being acquired? Or does something change in the health status of Rodon or Cole that makes the Yankees feel comfortable standing pat and trusting the internal depth they already have in place? What we know with certainty is that the Yankees are not done. The interest in Giolito has been documented. The case for Littell is compelling to anyone who evaluates him honestly. The organizational need for additional rotation depth is real and will not disappear simply because the offseason is getting late. And the man making these decisions, and the man who has been doing this job longer than many of his fans have been alive, has never once in his career decided that the rotation was deep enough to stop looking for ways to improve it. If Giolito agrees to terms that reflect the health uncertainty the market is pricing in, the Yankees make a calculated bet on a talented arm at the right price. If Littell decides that one more prove-it season in a high-profile market is the right career move, the Yankees get a durable workhorse who will take the ball every fifth day without drama and put up the kind of quiet, consistent production that championship rotations depend on more than they usually acknowledge publicly. Either way, the Bronx is not done building. It never is. It never will be. The final pieces are being assembled. The window is still open. And somewhere in a front office that has been doing this long enough to know exactly how these situations play out, Brian Cashman is watching the clock on 2 unsigned pitchers and calculating precisely when to make his move.